Well, good morning. Um, this is going to be a strange video because I want you to think about this. Everything that we do in our life has to do with time. We basically give up our time for a little bit of something that will make our lives better. And usually it has to do with money. So as we go to our jobs, in and out jobs, you're usually there by dark 30, and then you leave sometime in the middle of the night, and you have travel time. And you always ask yourself, wow, if I had a lot of money, I wouldn't have to worry about it. I would basically just do whatever I wanted to do. And that's one of the reasons why I took the road that I did. And it wasn't easy. And it took longer than I thought. Because I didn't start until later on in my life. I was too busy working, making money to pay bills just like everybody else. But when you're young, you have all that energy and you're learning. And you're learning somebody else's trade. But what I did was I turned everything around and I made the trade work for me. And I had a game plan. And that game plan was to take it to a different level. I started taking it to a different level because I wanted to get into real estate. And all the books that I read, all three of them, led me to believe that that was the answer. And my hunches are usually right, but like anything that you do in life, you have to commit and you have to pull the trigger. 100%. But you have to do it with the ability to understand what you're doing and making a great decision on everything you do. And that's not easy. It's a lot of thought process to put it together. Some people, like myself, just have a knack for certain things. My dad once told me that if I was dropped in the middle of the desert, I would find a way to make money. And he's right. I would. Some people just have the knack to make money. So through the last couple of years, I've been offering my knowledge and my ability to do what I do to a lot of people. And I guess I have to look at their perspective. Like, they see that the mountain is too far away. And they don't get it. And that's something that I cannot instill in them to push themselves. Recently, one of my friends approached and said, "Hey Ray, I need your guidance here. We're going to move to a city, and I've got the two daughters with me and my wife, and we're going to try to buy a place out here." And I said, "That's great. It's in the country." And I said to him, I said, "So what's the population there?" And he says, "Population of 3,000. I'm like, "Whoa. I guess your land's pretty cheap." And he goes, "Yeah, it is." So then he says, "I want to show you this." He shows me a piece of property. It's $20,000. And I said to him, "You should buy that land and you should build 3 houses on that lot. Build one at a time. Refinance it, take the money out, build a second one, build another one. And then because the land was so big, he could subdivide and sell the other two homes. And when he was done with the project, then he would basically have his house and his land for free. Now, it's not a easy task in most people's minds, but that's a task that I would take on and I would complete. And at the end of it, I would be satisfied that I was able to do it. Through my life, I've done a lot of that. I've done a lot of that type of deal where nobody wanted to touch it. Nobody wants to think about it. It's too much work. But that's why I'm retired at 55. Because I did stuff that I didn't want to do. If you did stuff your entire life of only what you wanted to do, by the time you get older, you're only going to do what you didn't do before, what you should have done before. So there are a lot of items that I have on my task board in my mind. And some of them are written down on my board in my little office here that I want to accomplish. And even though I take every deal that comes through as my last deal, and I bulldog every single deal that comes through, it comes down to a lot of times where I second guess myself, even at the level that I'm at with deals and how many deals I've been doing since I was 20 years old. I always have that little thing in my head that says, wait, is this a good deal? Of course, it's a lot less powerful than it used to be. I think a lot of ego has gobbled that thought process, because I've been very, very fortunate that everything I ever pick makes money. Some people just have that ability, the golden touch. You ever heard about that? So it's interesting to look at male or female and see their personalities. Some people want to live in the moment. Some people want to live in the past. And some people want to live in the future. I'm one of those people that wants the future. So I push for the unity of the future. I plan everything. I plan my kids. I plan today where I am today. Everything has been planned. My wife is fantastic. She does everything that I don't. And she's always right there. And I don't know, in today's society, that where my kids are going to be. I can't. Their personalities are so different. It's hard enough to still learn about my own personality and where I get my drive from, let alone trying to instill something in them. And that's what this video is all about. This video is about knowing who you are, what you can do before you get to the point where it's too late. The comfort zones are great. You get in a comfort zone, you might have a food problem. You might have that's a comfort, by the way. You might have a TV problem where you just want to watch movies 24/7, and that's a comfort zone. But sometimes you have to understand that in life, you have to pick a direction. If you stay on the same route that you're at, the chances are that you're not going to get anywhere. So when you go out and you get a job and you've got this money rolling in, when you're young, you spend all that money. Trust me, I've done it. I was 20 years old driving a Vet. I would go out and buy anything I wanted. I had no bills. I lived at the house with my mom and dad. And I was making a god-awful amount of money. And I didn't have any worries. That was the most free that I've ever felt, even though I worked at a job. Because I substituted my freedom for things I wanted. Like cars. And I had a lot of cars. I think at one time I had like 6 cars at my mom's house. And they were exotics. But after you get through that adolescence phase, you look at the next steps. What are the next steps that you need to have? If you didn't work for a company for 30 years and you had a great retirement, you're going to end up one time where your body no longer functions the way it used to when it was a youngster. And you have to imagine yourself trying to live off Social Security, which may not even be there by the time you get, down to the end here. So where do you sit on the totem pole? Are you a planner, or are you just getting by? And that's exactly where I was in that crossroads in my 30s. I think most people in their 30s hit that crossroads. Like, where am I going to be when I'm 50? Am I going to have enough retirement? Am I going to be able to get to that point? And I think that's a question that nobody wants to ask themselves, right? So when you go through all of this thought process and you get tired of thinking about it because you don't know direction. I've done things in my past that led me up to retirement at this age. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy on one income. When I got down to the point where the first house was done, the second house was done, the third house was done, it's done, but it's not quite done, because your depreciations on your properties start to taper the older that you're holding it, the longer you're holding it, I should say. And you're going to have to do rescaling. And that rescaling is 1031 exchange. Because if you sell it, you have to pay capital gains tax on it, 15%. So as soon as I decided I was going to move to Vegas, my 10-year plan, I knew that I had a lot of work to do, and that was scaling. So, and that's what I'm in the process of right now, is scaling each one of those properties that was purchased 10 years ago. So when you get to those points where you're scaling those properties, scaling is basically you're taking your original property and you're selling it. And the 1031 is deferring 100% of the profit and funds from the house. So if you have a house that sold for $200,000, you have to now take that $200,000, go through a 1031 exchange, which is basically a paper keeper, and then take that 1031 exchange over to another property. And you take the funds from that property and you buy another property. Here's the hard part, and this is why it's so hard. This is what I'm doing right now. You only have 45 days. You have 45 days. Now, that's ridiculous. You have to find a deal within 45 days, and you have to lock that deal in. So you're basically going to trade like-kind exchange, which means that you're going to you're going to take the proceeds from the house you sold, you're going to put them in escrow, then you're going to find a house, then you get under contract, and then you're going to take those proceeds and you're going to pay the new house with it. Now, it could be that the rent was better, it was in a better place. You can add money to that, and you can go up. So there's a lot of interesting information there about doing a 1031. But the good thing is that you don't have to pay capital gains tax. So more of that money stays within your trust if you have it in a trust or you have it in an LLC. And it might seem like it's very, very difficult for a lot of people. It's how do you know how to pick the right property, blah, blah, blah. And it is. It can get confusing. But if you train yourself to study that type of environment where your rental property is your retirement because you worked your whole life and you didn't really have a 401k, or you squatted it all and you don't have it anymore, you don't have anything to look forward to. Sorry, it's early. And it could get, pretty overwhelming trying to figure out these deals. But when you get to the point where you do find one and you are able to pull it off and you're able to get the other one rented for more money, it's a great feeling of accomplishment. Now, I'm on my last one from the 2009 purchases. And I had yesterday, I had my house already picked out. I had it picked out. I had it negotiated. I thought it was a shoo-in. My renter wanted to buy the rental that she was in. I said, that's great. I pushed for 2 days to get her qualified. Lender gave me a green light. I turn around and I give the green light to the other house and say, look, we're ready to go. She was just approved. Let's get a contract done. And within 15 minutes, the whole deal was crushed. Because he came back and said, oh, the owner already selected somebody else. So you can go in as backup. So the funny thing in there is that my wife was not very happy with that because she was there, she saw the house, she was ready to go. But what it comes down to is that it didn't faze me very much because I always knew that I'd find another deal. It's just going to take a little longer, and we're in a buyer's market. So, we're in a seller's market, sorry. And that's the way that life is. You have hopes and dreams of something that will come your way by either an act of God or by something that you did or something you were dependent on, and it didn't happen. Job promotion, stuff like that. You really have to understand that the only person that's going to help you is yourself. You're the one that has to go out and make things happen. I've always called myself the lightning bolt in the family because I am. I look back now over a 20-year period and I discover that the future from 10, 12 years ago, the direction that my entire family is in, would not have come about. It would have been worse if I didn't do what I did. And that's really hits home. Because if I didn't push myself, plan, take action, pull the trigger, take risk, I wouldn't be where I am today. I don't have to worry about money. I could do whatever I want. I have total freedom. And that is a great feeling. It's a great feeling to be able to still have some youth left and be able to do what I want to do. And what I'm trying to do now is make sure that my 2 boys are not 50 years old before they find it, like I have. Don't get me wrong, I still work. I work on stuff that I want to do. I work on the scaling of the rentals. I work on buying more rentals. Because to me, that's not really that much work. My idea of retirement is not sitting on this beach right here and soaking up the sun. I think in the society that we have today, it's hard to do that. There's too much dopamine input that comes in with our phones and everything. Most people would be sitting on that beach with their phone in their hand. And that's what society is right now. Not like when I was a kid. We didn't have phones. Our entertainment was nature. Surfing at 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. We have ability like this to see all of these fantastic sights that somebody else went out and took video of. And we can put them on a big screen. And you can have a movie theater room to see these sights. But in life, you have to make those calls. You have to be the executioner of your your bad habits. And you have to push forward. There's a lot of changes that's going to happen in the next few years. And I don't know if anybody's prepared for it. And those changes are coming. And they're going to take everybody by shock. The government is going to slowly introduce you to crypto. Because that's where we're headed. The government has plans to keep crypto in the spotlight for years and years to come, owning a tremendous amount of crypto. They've already started. They started back in 2014, and they're just making sure that they've master planned everything, because crypto's changing faster than their plan. And they didn't account for the growth. They didn't account for a lot of things that are happening in crypto. The technology and who comes out with what first and who launches what first. And we didn't even know that program could even exist in 2014. And if you go on the internet and you look up ISO 002, you're going to see that they've already built a financial system. There are a ridiculous amount of Bitcoin machines going to show up in Walmart soon. And that's pretty incredible. You're going to see that you're going to be able to buy pretty much anything with crypto. That's also amazing. So, without putting a lot of effort in, you need to study crypto. Because that is going to be the future financial sector. With $2.5 trillion in crypto right now, that's only about 1% of the entire world population that's in it. But when the governments start picking up crypto, you're going to see that everything's going to be crypto. Fiat currency's not working. They went overboard. They spent too much. So, what cryptos are going to be good? hard to say. They're changing all the time. Does Bitcoin have a utility? The only utility it has is that people think it's going to go up. Does Ethereum have any utility? It does, because it's got a contract. And Ethereum's contract is now, what, $3,500 each? As far as the Ethereum goes. The contracts are costing you about, in gas fee, about $100. Or traveling from wallet to wallet, private individuals, about 20 something dollars. So there's a new coin coming out, and that new coin is Pulse Chain. Pulse Chain is supposed to reduce those fees. And if you reduce those fees, the mass population will buy it. Why? Because nobody wants to pay a large amount of money to transfer funds from one person to another person. For example, if I wanted to transfer $20 to Joe because he bought dinner, what makes you think I want to pay $20 in gas fee and then pay $20 to Joe? So you can see Ethereum has a massive flaw. Now, if I'm going to transfer $20 to Joe's wallet and I'm paying 3 cents, I'm going to do that. And that's what Pulse Chain is. That's why Pulse Chain is going to be one of my top investments. I've already invested a ton of money into it. It's going to be one of my top investments for 2022. It's all about studying all the time, learning what you're going to do to change your lifestyle. And even though we have certain hours that we watch TV shows, try to spend hours studying crypto. Try to get to know that sphere, because it will help you in the long run, because it's coming. All of that's coming. It has to come, because the government can no longer take care of the debt. And the more you study on this, the more you get to the point where you understand and you watch what's going on, you're going to see that crypto is going to take over. I would not be surprised if the federal government owns 50% of the Bitcoin. Wouldn't even shock me. Because that would be their gold storage of value to replace regular gold. So, as you go about your normal day, just remember, if you only went to work, came home, did your thing, there is no future. Your future is you're going to retire, you're going to get Social Security at 67. Who the hell wants to retire at 67 and drop dead by your 75? Okay, that's not a life. So chances need to be taken. And if you don't take those chances, you're never going to pull yourself out. Because by the time you blink, it's too late. Life is the most precious thing that you have right now. So don't waste it. Take care.